You're live! Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Black Myth Wukong's benchmark tool. The game releases in around 5 days, so at the end of Monday, at least in South America, the game will be releasing, but out of the blue they released a benchmark tool, which is super awesome to see, at least in my opinion, to have an early look at performance. Although the benchmarking tool is more of a camera pan around a level, so I don't think it's a big way to talk about performance, unfortunately, but hey, what can you do? So here we are, checking that out. If you want to try this, go into Wukong's page, scroll down a little, and you'll find the benchmark tool. Pretty simple. So hit install now, and it will be less than 10 gigabytes, so let's go for it. They also patched the benchmark tool today, and they added a compatibility mode. So it launches the game. If you're having a black screen or something, you can launch it in compatibility mode, which is awesome for people that are having issues. Hey Shogu, how's it going? Good to see ya. It's been a while. How's it going? Oh man, I wasn't expecting to be doing a live stream, but here we are. Elfo Negro, ¿qué tal? Tanto tiempo. ¿Todo bien? So I have awesome news, guys. First of all, I have a new capture card that supports VRR, so there shouldn't be any screen tearing as long as I'm below 120 FPS. So let me know if the audio is fine, if the image is fluid, all that good stuff, because it will be necessary in order for me to judge this in real time. So hopefully you guys can. This is the benchmark tool. They released this. I think it's cool to have a way to see the options menu beforehand. So 1080p, no motion blur. Thank you very much. And the recommended settings according to the game is everything on low. So we're going to do a very quick run on the low preset at 66% resolution scale, which would mean quality on FSR terms, to say it in some way. And let's put everything on low to start, because that's what the game recommends. So let's give it a shot. Unfortunately, again, this is only a benchmark tool. Cuando el Steam Deck, ya lo hice. Guys, if you want to check it out on Steam Deck, I released a video a few hours ago. So hopefully that helps. And the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally also worked. Although on low settings, we're getting in the 50s, so I think we have room to spare. Also, but remember that this is only the camera panning around in a level. It's not like we're getting lots of effects on screen, it's just rendering the level. ¿Qué dice Marco Antonio? Tanto tiempo. ¿Quién está spameando? Ah, ok, ahí lo vi. Perdón, sí. Moisés, ahí te respondí, espero que te sea de ayuda. Tanto tiempo. So, as you can see, guys, at least in my opinion, yeah, we have 4 gigs of VRAM, so low textures, but man, low textures are rough. Especially on this over here. I don't know. But again, I cannot complain because I'm below the minimum requirements. The minimum requirement is 6 gigabytes of VRAM. Which, again, it's understandable considering it's a UE5 game, but that texture quality, man, it's rough. Performance, though, is pretty good so far. I don't remember if I enabled frame generation. I don't think I did. Ok, al máximo nos llegan a 6. Qué raro, porque tuve unos tirones. Yeah, we're going to try higher settings, don't worry, guys. I'm not expecting, again, 60s when there is something going on. As you can see, we're just panning a camera around. There's no... I mean, how difficult was it for the developer to add Wukong on screen fighting a boss fight, as an example. I mean, come on, they're making an entire game. You're telling me they cannot make a benchmark tool with something going on? So yeah. Impressive for 4 gigs of VRAM. But again, I wish this benchmark tool was more interesting. There's literally nothing going on. I mean, you can see it by yourself. And at the bottom right corner it says detected low VRAM benchmark results may significantly differ from actual gaming and are for reference only. Okay, so they're covering their asses. I gotcha. So low settings, 66% resolution, 56 FPS on average, which I think is pretty good. But again, there is basically just a camera moving around the world. Will Steam Deck be able to utilize high textures? I think on the Steam Deck medium textures was fine. Y muchas gracias Marco Antonio Bermeo por la donación de 19.92 pesos mexicanos. Se agradece un montón. Muchísimas gracias. Se agradece un montón. ¿Todo bien? Yeah, that's all. That's the benchmark tool. It's I don't know. I hate it. It's nice to have it, don't get me wrong. I like that you don't need to buy the game to try this out. But this is what the benchmark tool does. That's all there is to it. So now we're going to go a little bit extreme. We're going to put it on high, textures on medium, and global illumination on low. Just to try and push it to its absolute limits when it comes to the 1650. So we confirm the changes. Will I get over 30 with this card? Yeah, so far so good. So we're on high settings, 1080p, low global illumination, medium textures. The game is telling me, no, please don't do this. We don't care, we're going to try it anyway. Imagine a fight between Monkey King versus Monkey D. Luffy. Probably a very low frame rate, definitely. You can write in Portuguese, but I'm not going to understand most of it. I mean, you're free to do it, but you're not guaranteed to get that message read, because I barely understand it. Draw distance affects a lot. Yeah, I'm aware of that, don't worry. But the global illumination is the one that, at least for me, made the biggest difference. So now we have mid-30s, and the game looks significantly better. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious if you guys are looking at it. The texture quality is so much better. Also, by the way, do you see any screen tearing? My new capture card has VRR, so there shouldn't be any screen tearing. Let me know, please. That would be awesome. Yeah, 30 FPS lock should be good. Does this game not support FSR frame gen? It does have frame gen, but at 30 FPS, I mean, I don't think it's a good idea. Also, there's some artifacting on the top of the water. Probably the upscaler. We're going to try FSR as well. But hey, Spencer Walker 21, thank you so much for the 6.66. Ha, I saw what you did there. 6.66 US dollars donation. Thank you so much, man. He says, love the live streams. Do you think there's any way we can get stable 30 on the deck, on the Steam Deck? Your prediction? Yeah, I think we can get 30s on low settings and quality TSR. Maybe a mix, maybe medium settings with low global illumination, using either quality or balanced TSR on the Steam Deck. Again, that's my guess considering what I saw in the benchmark tool. But yeah, I think 30s should be doable. Do you think this benchmark is a scam or will not represent the game? I mean, I wouldn't call it a scam because we actually have the options menu and a build of the game running, which is always good. But I find disingenuous that this is the benchmark. I mean, when you see the trailers for this game, there's a lot of flashy stuff on screen. The Wukong just fighting boss fights and stuff, multiple enemies, effects on screen. So I don't think this is representative necessarily on how the game will actually run. By the way, they are saying when you launch the benchmark tool that this is not 100% representative on what to expect, on the performance. So I think this is good to see which settings are demanding and which settings are not, and if your PC can actually launch it. So I think these settings will be best. 65% resolution, that is similar to quality. It will be quality FSR. 35 FPS average, high settings, low post-processing, low, where is it? Oh, it's not here. What? Okay, medium textures, and the global illumination, I put it on low. Not sure why it's not here. And also it says DX12 on. There's a DX11 way to launch the game, which we're going to try it. But personally, considering the graphical difference, I think you should do these settings. Anything lower than this, actually, I mean, anything below medium is potato. So, yeah. So with those settings, we got 35. Let's try it on DX11. To do DX11 is pretty simple. Right-click on the Wukong benchmark tool. And in the launch option, add DX11, like on other Unreal Engine games. And you should be good to go. ¿No? Bueno, o sea, para mí si no muestran el tema de los efectos, para mí se ve muy bien el juego. Heavily 2 uses better UE5. I mean, yeah, but Heavily 2 is a different game. I mean, when it comes to what type of game that is, this is more of an action game, more fast-paced. And Hellblade 2 is more like a walking simulator type of thing with some combat in the middle, which is fine. But it's a different beast. I'm not 100% sure though if this game is open world. I think it's probably going to be big areas separated by loading screens, but I don't know, we'll judge that once the game releases. As of right now, yeah, of course, Hellblade 2 looks better, but they're completely different games. I think it's like comparing oranges with potatoes at that point. Which one is better, 1066 gigs or 1650? Asking because I recommend that 1066 gigs. I mean, the 1060 should be better just because of the fact of the extra VRAM, but if you're playing this on DX12, probably 1650 is more compatible with it. So I have no idea until I try it. I don't have a 1060, so I don't have a way to test it. But they should be pretty close. If you're doing higher textures, it's probably going to be better on the 1060 overall, but I don't know. Also, on the X11, I'm noticing some spikes in the frame time. I'm guessing it doesn't compile shaders for the X11. So yeah, on the VRAM though, despite being on medium textures with high settings and low global illumination, we're still below the 4 gigabytes of VRAM, so I don't get what the fuss is about. An open world? Okay, so it's not an open world, gotcha, thanks for the heads up. So, about the comparison with Hellblade 2, it's completely different. I don't think those are comparable when it comes to... I mean, Hellblade 2 obviously looks a lot better, but the game is completely different. So yeah, visually Hellblade 2 is obviously superior. I'm doing well, so Game out already? No, it will be out on Monday, at the end of Monday, at least for South America. They did release a benchmark tool to test your PC before you buy it, which I think is good. But again, I think it's a little bit disingenuous because they're not showing any flashy boss fight or anything on this benchmark tool. So again, I think it's disingenuous. But at the same time, I'm happy that we're getting this, just because of the fact that when you want to access benchmark tools in games, you usually have to buy the game to get to the options menu and enter the benchmark tool. Call of Duty is a great example of this. So again, I think it's a good idea, and hopefully it helps them fix bugs before the game releases. Bugs about launching the game, of course, nothing huge. RJR, how's it going? Until Dawn releases on October 4th. Oh, awesome. I'm super looking forward to it. God of War Ragnarok will be 190 gigabytes. That's insane. Okay, so on the X11, the average is 1 frame ahead, but there were some spikes in the frame time, so I would recommend the X12, at least on this card. So before I launch the game again, let me change one of the settings. Okay, graphics. Okay, we're doing something different. Maybe to have some room to spare, medium shadows. Let's make it easier. I love that there's cinematic, very high, or medium. Let's keep it on medium. And we're going to lower the global illumination to low. This should give us a good balance. And instead of DSR, we're now using FSR. So this should be, I think, the best balance. So keep it like this. And what am I missing? I'm missing something. I'm forgetting about something. Oh yeah, I have to restart the game. My bad. Yeah, borderless, and you can go above 1080, obviously. I don't know why though. This is like some other UE5 games that doesn't have full screen, only has borderless full screen. I think it's kind of weird. Let's launch it on the X12. Again, if you are having issues launching the game, try adding this launch option, the X11. The game will stutter more than on the X12, use more CPU, but it's also an option. In Spanish it translates very high to ultra. That's pretty funny. Gaming on Linux is not great too. What do you mean? It depends, really. You're learning game development and it's not easy. It's not. I think it's a thing of manpower. You have so many things that you have to do for a game to actually exist that one person doing everything is kind of an issue, I'd say. So 1080p. Let's do, there we go, FSR, that was what I was missing. This should be FSR 3. There's also XeSS, but it's more demanding. So FSR, 66% super resolution, so quality FSR. The medium preset and low global illumination, which again seems to be 100% the most demanding option by far. And let's run it. This game is strong, Game of the Year contender. Yeah, I mean, we need to wait for the reviews first. I mean, yeah, I mean, look at this. That's way better. Yeah, I think medium is the way to go for this card. You get a nice in-between. In this case, again, it's a very early test because they only allow us to pan the camera. I mean, it pans the camera around on its own. Actually, FSR looks pretty good on this one. I think it looks better than TSR, at least when it comes to the surface of the water. It still has some minor artifacts, but actually FSR on this one looks pretty good in comparison to TSR. TSR had some blocky artifacts on the water. That's pretty interesting. AC Shadows, what are your thoughts? My thoughts are, it's nice to have another Assassin's Creed game, but it's going to have to compete with Ghost of Tsushima when it comes to Japan. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited, but trying to be optimistic about it, which is very difficult with new Ubisoft games. Do you know why some games work better in the X11 than the X12 and vice versa? I mean, when the X12 is well implemented, it should use less CPU, but it highly depends on implementation. So yeah, I mean, it depends. That's why we do so many tests. DXL tends to use more VRAM, but it tends to be less heavy on the CPU, again, from my experience. But why does that happen? It all depends on how the game is developed. Usually DX11 was way better because DX12 gave more control to the developers on the hardware, but the developers were like, okay, we're not spending a lot of time on this. We're shipping the X11, so slap the X12 on there in a low effort. And now that they're actually putting the work to make the X12 work properly, I think now has a benefit if you have a newer GPU. You're installing this for fun on your 750 Ti? Well, good luck to you, sir. CPU Survivor coming to... Oh yeah, to PS4, yeah. I don't know how they're going to put Jedi Survivor on PS4 and Xbox One, but it's going to be interesting. Hope the Nuvo does not impact performance. I hope so too. By the way, this benchmark also has the Nuvo DRM, despite being free. But I'm guessing they're doing that so they don't hack the game on day one. That's what I'm guessing, so they don't crack it on day one. I'm guessing that they still put the Nuvo in this demo thing as well. So with these settings, you get 47 FPS, again in the benchmark tool, quality FSR, medium settings, low global illumination, and you get mid-40s, which is pretty good. Again, there's nothing going on screen, which leads me to believe that when there's effects on screen, this is probably going to be into the 30s, I mean mid-30s. There's going to be, again, Wukong fighting, doing all sorts of crazy effects on screen. The fur on the characters is going to be rendered as well. So I think as a baseline, it's nice to have this and see the settings and all that good stuff, but it's just a benchmark tool panning the camera around after all. You know the percentage for FSR balanced? I think FSR balance is something like 60%. I don't remember exactly. But I think on 1080p quality looks good enough. And now just for the fun of it, because many of you guys always ask me, we're going to try frame generation. And let's see if it actually works. Frame gen. Okay, frame generation works, and we're getting basically double the frame rate. Since I'm not controlling the game, I cannot comment on input lag. What I do notice is that it's using more VRAM and system RAM, because it has to create a fake frame in the middle. The water does look worse. I'm guessing that's due to the frame gen. Balance is 59%. Okay, thanks for the heads up, guys. So if you're doing balanced, yeah, you're going to get a higher frame rate, definitely. Less load on the GPU. And if you're doing... Yeah, water looks weird because of upscaling, but on FSR, I think the water looks better than on TSR. On TSR, it's like a blocky mess for some reason on the water. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Pretty weird. Yeah, I also wish the benchmark had some action in it. I mean, they're making a huge video game. You're telling me that they are not capable of putting Wukong doing some weird ass fire effect against a giant creature? I mean, come on, man. What are they doing? I don't know. That bothers me. Hey, CJ. Hey, full mods. How's it going? Lossless scaling will be better to use an in-game frame gen. Usually in-game frame gen should be better, but I mean, if you already own lossless scaling, you might as well try it out. I mean, I don't know. It highly depends. Sometimes lossless scaling with frame gen looks better, but I don't know. I'm also noticing that the foliage when using frame gen is a little bit over sharpened. So that's pretty interesting. Remember you? Of course I do. Darth Decimus. I saw you before. You even changed your profile picture. Spanish too? Yeah, I speak Spanish as well. That's my main language, actually. You're going to test it with the 1070? Are you excited for Ragnarok? Boy! Of course I am. I'm a huge God of War fan. I haven't finished God of War 2018 though. I need to finish it. I played every God of War, finished every God of War except that one, so... Yeah. Hey, Neto Ovi, how's it going? Why does the game look better than Dragon's Dogma 2 and runs better? Different engine, different developer, different everything, basically. I'm doing fine, Tenjim. What about you? So if you guys want to use frame gen, instead of 45 FPS, you're going to get 66 with FSR. So again, input lag, the benchmark is not playable, to say it in some way. It's just the camera being moved around, which is not a way to test input lag, of course. So keep that in mind. This is just initial numbers that I'm getting. But as an option, you can use FrameGen if you want to. Let's swap GPUs now. ¿Cuáles son tus expectativas con este juego? Y que se vea bien y que corra bien. Eso es lo único que quiero. Y que sea divertido. Alright guys, time to swap to the 3050. Maybe at the end we do, if I have time, the 1050 Ti. We'll see. Yeah, input lag in a game like this is like a death sentence, and I agree. But we'll see. Alright, 3050 frame gen equals input lag in real gameplay, I agree. But I wanted to show you because a lot of people, you cannot imagine the amount of people that ask me to test frame generation. It's kinda crazy. You test this game on your 4060, 1440p, ultra settings, 61 FPS. Okay, I mean, that makes sense. Considering the results I'm getting here, for a 4060, in my opinion, that makes sense. You didn't hear hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing the benchmark tool for Black Myth Wukong on the 1650, 3050, 3060, and maybe at the end, even the 1050 Ti, we'll see. Thoughts on God of War Ragnarok PC system requirements chart? I haven't seen it, but you guys told me a lot about the disk usage that it has, so we'll see. I might check it out at the end of the live stream. Or, you know what, before starting, while stuff is loading, because it's reloading my drivers. Classic. Come on. Here we are, 3050. We're going to basically use DLSS later. DLSS off. And we're going to try basically high settings, I'm guessing. But let me check the God of War. Oh, that's not the correct keyboard. God of War Ragnarok. Let's see the requirements. I mean, it's the same engine as the other God of War game, so it shouldn't be a problem, but okay, so Ryzen 3 1200, 4 cores, 8 threads. It should be easy to run on the CPU side. 8 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, I have 32 on this computer. 1066 gigabytes, which is fine. 5500 XT. Intel Arc A750. 200 gigabytes of space. Okay, the only outrageous thing is the storage. Maybe because of the super high resolution textures, I'm guessing. And for the recommended, a 2060 Super. I mean, I don't know which settings this would be, but let me check super quick. It has more details. That's pretty funny. I'm guessing it's oh, there we go. Here it is. Low settings, 30 FPS, 1080p, 1060. I'm guessing this is an exaggeration. Okay, native resolution without upscaling. So it's native 1080p, low settings, 30 FPS on the 1060, 60 FPS on 2060 Super, on medium. I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense, actually. I'm guessing this is a PS5 version, so I'm pretty sure they're exaggerating with the minimum requirements. And exaggerating, I mean, I'm sure a 1060 is probably going to do more than this. And this is with native resolution and no upscaling. What I think is outrageous is the space. 190 gigabytes. What the hell? So those are my thoughts on the God of War system requirements. They're pretty funny. 1650 will be able to play this game. You mean God of War Ragnarok or Black Myth Wukong? If you're talking about Black Myth, yeah, I tried it. It does run. I don't know how well it will be on actual gameplay. And by actual gameplay, I mean doing something on screen instead of just panning the camera. But on God of War, it should be fine. The 1650 is super close to the 1060. It all depends on the VRAM usage. But again, it's a game that was made with the PS4 in mind, so shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I'm crashing. Now we're launching the benchmark. Or am I? There we go. Shader compilation failed during your last session. If your session ended unexpectedly, you can skip. Yeah, let's do shader compilation. Again, every game should have this. Every game should have shader compilation before launching, so props to them for putting this before the game launches. Instead of having stutters in the main menu, they actually tell you, hey, wait to work valid shaders, please. There we go. See, that's something that they did well there. Say what you want about the benchmark tool having very little action, which I agree, but I'm not going to ignore everything. Shader compilation should be on basically every UE5 game and UE4 game. You have a 250 gigabyte SSD on your PC? Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense. Okay, DLSS at 100%, so this is the settings we're using, and we're using the high preset. So DLSS, 100% resolution, so we're doing basically native. So no DLSS, high settings, no frame gen, at least not right now, and ray tracing we'll try it later. Let's see. 1050 Ti, maybe at the end if I have enough time, because I gotta go to the gym and then go to Kung Fu. So it's basically 3.5 hours of my day gone. Okay, so on 1080p high with native resolution, again, on high, we're getting 30 FPS. Although, I mean, I think we can easily tweak this to get way higher frame rates than this. Again, we're not using any upscaling whatsoever. This is DLSS, DLAA basically. I see almost no jaggies. Yeah, this looks pristine. Looks wonderful. When it comes to the edges, I mean. But then graphically speaking, I'm not seeing... I mean, there are better textures. The shadows have better draw distance, but other than that, I don't see much of an advantage. Yeah, there's some popping going on over here. And the VRAM usage is still pretty low. On high settings, native 1080p, I'm using 5 gigabytes, basically. Whoa, there was a stutter. Oh, sorry. My audio got fricked up for some reason. Apologies. That was horrible. What the hell? Yeah, the audio is kind of broken. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to restart the capture card. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm doing Batman training now. There we go. That fixed it for me. Sorry, sometimes the audio gets fricked in this capture card, so I have to restart it. So as I was saying, 1080p high settings gives us 30 FPS on native resolution, but what if we do quality DLSS? Basically 66% resolution. So DLSS quality 66. And instead of high settings, maybe we can lower some stuff. First of all, textures, let's put them on cinematic. I don't think it's worth going lower than this. Then global illumination is a huge hit. We put it on medium, same with the raw distance. Shadows and post effects, anything below high shadows, you can actually see the shadows popping in. And this probably when playing as Wukong is going to be super important. So let's keep it like this, a mix of medium and high. So mid-high. This should give us a performance boost, affects image quality a bit. But usually DLSS on quality at 1080p looks pretty good, so let's see how it goes. What are your thoughts on FSR3? FSR3 so far is being pretty similar to FSR2, a little bit more stable. But I'm happy that they are improving that technology. I mean, yeah, FSR2 was super blocky, FSR3 still is in many games. But in this game, FSR3, I think it looks pretty good. Okay. Actually, DLSS is not that great. Oh, never mind. It's only the water. The water makes the upscalers kind of break on this one. Do you think Sony will scrap the whole PlayStation Network account linking thing on PC? I don't think so. One can hope, but I don't think so. They want to put their system on us, so I don't think we can escape it, honestly. Ever tried Intel Arc series? No, I never tried them. I'm curious, but at the same time, I mean, there's so much compatibility with Nvidia and AMD that I don't know if I would take the risk, honestly. They're fine with having 60 with cinematic setting, DLSS quality plus frame generation on and Raytracing enabled. Well, that's not going to happen on this card. Unless you do maybe 50% resolution, I'm guessing. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to increase the size of the FPS counter. Shadow quality impacts 3 FPS or so. You were expecting more, but global illumination affects the FPS significantly. I agree. I mean, the shadows, if you put them anything past high, they are pretty demanding. Anything below high shadows has a lot of pop-in when it comes to shadows. But then, global illumination is the one, I agree with you guys, that hit the frame rate the most. So we're going to try basically medium to high with low GI. But I think if you have a BRR screen, this should be good enough. You're between 40 and the upper 50s. We're talking 1080p over here with DLSS. Oh, you went with your specs. What were your specs? I didn't read it, I'm sorry. I missed it. Forget that card cycle ends this year. Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me. Alright, let's try one more thing. High settings plus GI global ill low. GI low. Alright, so again, 1080p. DLSS, we keep it at 65, which is like quality. Then when it comes to this global illumination, this is the most demanding setting by far. I tried this on the Steam Deck as well. So we're going to keep it something like this. This should be good enough to keep decent quality and decent performance. Again, decent. Quality DLSS 1080p. Let's give it another run very quickly. See if those are the definitive settings. Bro, but the stream doesn't affect the results? No, it doesn't, because I'm using an entirely separate computer to do this. As you can see now that I lowered global illumination to the absolute lowest, we're in the upper 50s, so it's basically a 12 FPS improvement or something like that. But I can notice that the shadowing is different in smaller objects. But personally, I would just play it like this. I mean, what's the point of going any higher on the settings? The game still looks good. So as I was saying, the... what was I talking about? The stream, it doesn't affect performance because I'm using a capture card, so one computer is doing the entire live stream and the other computer is running the game, but I'm giving it an HDMI signal to the streaming computer, so no FPS hit. That's basically why it takes so much work to get this running in the first place, this live stream. And that's why I got a new capture card. So we can actually I can actually show you unlock frame rates without screen tearing. So if you see any screen tearing, please let me know. As long as we are below 120 FPS, there shouldn't be any screen tearing, because I upgraded the capture card for something better. RT is totally worthless in this game. Okay, we're going to check it out. Don't worry. In my opinion, again, with these settings, the game looks good, and you get 50 to 60, so this is, again, just a preliminary test, a benchmark tool that only moves the camera around the map, which is not a good test in my opinion, because, again, what was the difficulty of putting Wukong doing something cool on screen against enemies? I do not know. Why they didn't do that? Maybe just for PR reasons. So yeah. This is the settings I would use. DLSS quality, 1080p, medium to high settings with global illumination on low, and you should be good to go. Yeah, it runs similar to Alan Wake 2, I agree. Okay, average of 60, maximum of 70, minimum of 50, and these are the settings that I've been using. No frame generation. As you can probably see, this game does have frame generation as an option, so you can actually have a higher frame rate than that, but you get the input lag, so yeah. Before we continue, let's do ray tracing. Ray tracing just for the memes, of course. It's kind of a waste on a card like this, but we might as well. So enabling full ray tracing NVIDIA a ray tracing capable graphics card is required. So we get low, medium, very high. That's very funny. Low, medium, and very high. Don't put low, medium, and high. Put low, medium, and very high. Let's put it on medium when it comes to ray tracing. And it probably needs a restart, of course. So we're going to restart the game now. We keep the same settings, but we enable ray tracing. Plus yeah, the ray tracing setting requires a restart. We'll see about that. Ray tracing medium. Let's put high settings, and the global illumination is low. Sorry, lots of text. I know, I apologize. So 1080p, everything is the same. DLSS, quality DLSS, medium ray tracing, and the settings are the same as before. Basically, high settings, low global illumination because of the performance hit, and medium view distance. If we get decent frame rates with this, we can actually increase the settings a little bit. I'm not targeting ray tracing 60, that's ridiculous. But hey. Your favorite PC game of 2024 so far? That's a good question. What have I been playing? I've been playing old stuff, honestly. Man, there hasn't been that many releases this year. Okay, we're below 30 FPS. No surprises. I've been playing mostly old games, so I don't think I have a 2024 favorite game. Maybe Ready or Not. Sorry, Ghost of Tsushima. What am I talking about? Ghost of Tsushima. That's my best game on PC this year, in my opinion. Alright, so as you can see, ray tracing, even on medium, is too much. So we're going to be a little bit more aggressive with the upscaling. Again, it's at 3050. So let's do performance DLSS. Oh, here it says it. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's put it on performance. We need as many frames as possible. Is the first benchmark test freezing for you as well? No. What do you mean? So far it's been fine. I had one crash when launching the game after compiling shaders. Okay, so we're on DLSS performance. That is 50% resolution, basically. Oh man, look at that reflection. Holy hell. So pixelated. I mean, the base resolution is 540p, so I'm not surprised. Maybe we can increase the amount of samples for the ray tracing. Try FSR plus frame gen. I mean, frame gen at 30 FPS is dog shit. Let's be honest here. If you already hate the input lag at 30 FPS, with frame generation is going to be even more input lag. I don't know. Ray tracing very high. Have you finished Jedi Survivor? No, I haven't even got past the intro, I think. I got to the part that we got the lightsaber. Yeah, I played very little. Okay. It's way more samples for ray tracing when we're using very high. There's medium, very high, and ultra, I think. Sorry, low, medium, and very high. This is the highest ray tracing option. And it has way more samples, that's why we get 10 FPS less. But so far what I'm seeing with this ray tracing thing is ray trace reflections. But if it already looks pixelated with ray tracing on medium, I don't know, man. Let's do balanced DLSS. Let me double check just in case. I mean, it does run on the Steam Deck. I have a video that I made a few hours ago, actually. You can find it in the pinned chat. It actually does run on Steam Deck at 30 FPS on the benchmark. Okay, so 1080p, 57% DLSS, which is basically balanced. Ray tracing on medium, because anything above medium ray tracing destroys the frame rate. I mean, it already destroys the frame rate. And these are the rest of the settings. Global illumination on low. I heard the lighting was better with ray tracing on. It better be better with ray tracing on. Otherwise, what's the point? If it runs on Steam Deck, then that's a good sign. Yep, I agree. But again, this is just a benchmark tool. And as you can see with medium ray tracing, I mean, there's real-time ray tracing on the reflections, but it's very grainy. Again, it's a pretty low resolution. We're doing 57% 1080p. We're below 720. But this is what it takes to get 30 FPS with ray tracing on a 3050. Don't get me wrong, it looks good, but it's a little bit distracting, especially if you're at with a lot of upscaling. Again, we're doing ray tracing on a 3050, so that's no surprise. But if the ray tracing is going to look like this, you better just ignore it for the time being. Yeah, ray tracing is usually not worth it. There's very few games that use it in a good way. But it's a very expensive rendering thing. It's just that when you don't have enough samples, you get those pixelated, grainy reflections. That's why a lot of games, when you enable ray tracing, is just some sort of global illumination. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was expecting a short gameplay demo as well. I mean, what the hell are they doing? Why the hell do we need... Okay, I can see that the lighting is very different, yeah, with ray tracing. Obscured parts of the environment actually have some bounce lighting. Oh man, but some of the pixelation at the edges of the screen. Yeah, ray tracing seems to be a mix of global illumination and ray trace reflections, actually. Interesting. But it's very heavy on performance. Personally, while it looks good, I wouldn't enable it. But the thing is, if it runs like this, moving the camera around the map, imagine how it will run when there is a monkey with a lot of fur versus, I don't know, a big wolf with fur being with swords on fire. I mean, why couldn't they just put some combat scene in the benchmark tool? I don't know, that's beyond me. I think that's a little bit disingenuous. Spider-Man 2 RT is damn sick. Well, yeah, but that one runs well. Ray tracing on Spider-Man actually runs well. That's the difference. On Spider-Man, you're going at Mach 5 speed through the city, and you can see your reflection in the buildings, and it runs fine. I mean, it's a big performance hit, but in that game, at least it's pretty scalable, and it looks pretty good. Which... that's why I get a lot of hate for sometimes saying, oh, keep ray tracing off. It depends on the game. Spider-Man is one of the very few games, along with the Ratchet and Clank game, that actually has good ray tracing, in my opinion. So which settings would I use? Pretty simple. I would use, at least on this card, 1080p, quality DLSS, that is 67%. Then on the graphics, something like this. For performance, low global illumination, everything on high except in view distance, that is on medium, textures on cinematic, which is the highest setting. And that's basically it. That should give you 50 to 60. Of course, make sure to restart the game as soon as you change the settings for ray tracing. So we're going to put view distance on high as well, why not? Let me restart the game as well. Hey, SWO, gotta go. How's it going? 6 years since RTX was introduced. Man, that makes me feel old. Jesus Christ. What do you mean 6 years? With a 4060 high and DLSS quality. Which frame rate do you get, man? I'm curious. In combat, there will be lots of particle effects. I mean, yeah, especially on this game. Every time they show Wukong in any trailer, he's doing some badass combination in combat that has lots of particles on screen, fire. I mean, why wouldn't they put that in the benchmark tool? That's a little bit suspicious. Okay, 1080p, quality DLSS, high settings, low GI, textures on cinematic. U5 destroying low-level gamers once again. Yeah, but at least this game has the option to turn off the ray tracing, which I think is good. But I mean, look at this. It does look worse, of course. There's no ray tracing, but the game looks good enough, in my opinion. If you want better quality, you can increase the global illumination, but again, global illumination is the most expensive setting in the game so far. And by doing a few adjustments, again, high settings, global illumination on low, and DLSS at quality, which is 66%, you get something like this. Again, in the actual game, it's probably going to drop further than this, let's be honest here. But still, first impressions are good. Pay $29.99 to unlock combat on day one. No! By the way, guys, now that you've been watching this live stream, did you see any screen tearing? Is the audio for the game fine? Is my voice sounding correct? Is there been any spikes, any lags, anything? I'm testing a new capture card. I would be thankful if you can tell me if it looks smooth. On my side, it looks fine, but you know, I'm the one making the video, so it would be nice to know if you guys can tell me. We'll be very thankful. Voice is fine, everything is good. 3060, no, we're doing it in a moment. Audio is great and no screen tearing, no spikes. Okay, awesome. With the Nuvo, there will be even less performance than this. Well, fun thing. This benchmark tool also has the Nuvo, so so yeah. Funnily enough, we're already running the Nuvo with this. Without the Nuvo, it's probably going to be faster, of course, but even the benchmark tool has the Nuvo, funnily enough. And I understand why they're doing that. It's probably because they don't want day one piracy, because you could grab in some games that got demos early on. The demos didn't have the Nuvo, and somebody grabbed the executable from the demo, put it in the files of the final game, and the game launched without the Nuvo. It happened with Devil May Cry 5. I'm guessing that's why they also have DRM in this benchmark tool. So 62 FPS, in my opinion, these are the best settings, at least in the benchmark tool. We'll see once the full game releases. Let's do the 3060 because I need to go. I'm in a hurry. I'm sorry, guys. I have, again, to do my Batman exercise. One sec. Alright, 3060. You missed the 1650. Did it explode? It didn't explode. It did work, surprisingly enough. But you need to sacrifice the resolution, of course. Which is understandable. It's a new AAA game from a new team. Yeah, they are killing it. When it comes to PR, at least, these guys from Wukong are doing a great job. I mean, releasing a benchmark tool in 2024 before the game releases is pretty rare. Oh yeah, I remember the Battlefield 5 showcase for Raytracing. Yeah, I do remember. Oh man, that was bad. I mean, that was bad when you actually played the game. Alright. Alright, 3060. I'm sorry I'm rushing, but I gotta go pretty soon. Come on. There we go. 3060. Okay, the game is going to launch and crash just because I swapped the graphics card. It has to redo the shader compilation. So we'll see. Okay, it's doing the shader compilation without crashing. That's wonderful. We're going to be using high settings first. Then we're going to lower the global illumination just as a baseline to see what to expect. Whoa, that shader compilation was quick, but it's just a small level. This game is out now for testers. You should get a demo. I mean, the demo would be nice. I would be happy if they put combat as a demo, automatic combat here. Just show me Wukong doing some sweet moves in in the benchmark tool, and I'm happy. I don't need to be controlling Wukong. I mean, it would be nice, but if they're releasing just something to see your frame rate, give me some action, because it's not representative. So 100% DLSS, which is DLAA. High settings, cinematic textures, because it uses very little resources. And give me 1 sec, my capture card is acting weird again with the sound. Okay, there we go. So I don't know why the sound breaks sometimes on my capture card. It's a new card, so that's why I don't know my way around it as of yet. Which will you benchmark Stalker 2? Hell yeah. 100% DLSS is the same as native. Yes, sir. It's even better than native, actually. It looks, the edges look better. It's being used as anti-aliasing. So it's a bit better than native in general. Okay, so on high settings we're getting upper 40s right now. Although, considering that I've been looking at this on low and on medium, it doesn't look particularly amazing. Wasn't the entire game leaked online? I don't know. It's a little bit more taxing than native to have DLAA, of course. I'm not sure if there's an option to disable it though. But it's not like it takes 5 FPS. It takes less than 5 FPS, as far as I remember. But as I was saying, high doesn't look that impressive in comparison to medium. I mean, some of the draw distance is better, but I don't know. You got 61 FPS on 1080p high, DLSS quality, frame generation off. Oh, okay. Sounds good. Augmented realism. Yeah, in this case I'm not using upscaling. It's basically native. So we're into the 40s with these settings. And it uses very little VRAM for some reason. You could swim in that water. Hell yeah. Yeah, I can also switch to the X11. I already did it on the 1650. But it had more stutters. So let's now use DLSS with these settings. This will be quality DLSS and same settings as before on 1080p. Why no AMD cards? Because I don't have any. People didn't seem to be interested, unfortunately, so I had to let them go a couple of years ago. Okay, with quality DLSS, that is 66%, we're actually getting low 60s. So, in order to get a high frame rate, instead of high settings, I'll just lower the global illumination to medium to make sure we're above that 60 FPS target. Yeah, we have some minor drops below 60 there, but again, we can smooth those out with a super simple tweak. So let's do it, come on. Is the frame generator bad in this case? With FSR 3, it's been okay, but you need a good base frame rate, so we're going to try it later, don't worry. My advice here is medium global illumination. So, high settings, 66% DLSS, but medium global illumination. Because that's the biggest performance hit, basically. And if you want even more frames, low global illumination, but you're sacrificing some of the bounce sliding. Yeah, it does work on the Steam Deck. I tried it. Check out my pinned comment. Pinned message, better said. I also tried it on the ROG Ally at 30 watts and 18 watts. And it actually can reach 30 FPS. The thing is again that they only put a camera moving around the environment. It could have been so much better than this. They should take notes from the Returnal benchmark tool. The Returnal benchmark tool is like a huge combat scenario that is destroying objects on screen. I mean, I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking for Wukong to be running around, attacking some enemies, and maybe a boss fight against a big enemy. I'm not asking for much. They're building a big game here. It shouldn't be difficult. It will be more representative. So this will be my way to get 60s. High settings, medium global illumination, and as you can see, you're good to go. Looks pretty good. Hey, Ominagam. How's it going, man? Long time no see. Have a good time, you as well. Yeah, I think this is a PR for PR reasons, because you're not actually stress testing the game here. You're just, I mean, not even Wukong is being rendered. You know how many polygons that 3D model has? How much fur, how much hair that monkey has that is not being rendered? I never thought I would say those words, though. That sounds weird. Okay, we're going to now try ray tracing. So ray tracing on medium, because, yeah. Medium RT. And we go back into the game. 1440p DLSS balance. Yeah, we're going to do that right after I finish with ray tracing, and we're jumping into 1440p because I gotta run. Yeah, a very hairy, demanding monkey. Wukong will show up in the later half of the game. Could you imagine if the game was like a puzzle game, like a cross-world puzzle game, and the later half is Wukong? That would be hilarious. So 1080p, 65% resolution, that is quality DLSS. Medium ray tracing, you have medium, very high, and low. We'll keep it on medium. High is super demanding, too many samples. And the settings are something like this. Medium GI because performance. Let me see, yeah, everything's in order. Very high on native resolution. Yeah, the 3060 there will drop probably into the low 30s, upper 20s on the highest settings. I don't think it makes sense. We're going to do that when the game releases, don't get me wrong. Today, I'm in a bit of a rush, unfortunately. And also, it's a benchmark tool. So here you can see the reflection is very grainy, because we're on medium, so there's less samples. But we're getting above 30 FPS. Again, as I'm sounding like a broken record, once Wukong shows up on screen fighting enemies in the actual game, I'm guessing it's going to be below 30 with these settings. Although, the global illumination and the ray trace reflections with the ray tracing mode on look pretty impressive. You can actually notice the the occlusion on the smaller objects into the distance. Although some stuff doesn't seem to have indirect lighting. But I mean, the reflections are super grainy on medium ray tracing, and you get half the frame rate, so I think it already looked good enough. The way to fix the pixelated water is to increase the ray tracing quality to high. And let's just say that's a little bit too much for the GPU. Let me show you super quick how it looks with the... high ray tracing doesn't exist. Very high ray tracing, which is the highest setting. So you have the low ray tracing, medium ray tracing, and very high. So if you go for the highest ray tracing, it will be less pixelated, but the performance hit should be huge. We should be into the 20s now instead of the 30s. So yeah. Yeah, we need benchmarks like, yeah, the original Fear game, or like on... what's the name of this? On like in the Returnal PlayStation game. So as you can see now, if you're doing medium global, very high ray tracing instead of medium, the water kinda gets improved quite a bit actually, but you get even more of a performance impact because you're getting more rays being cast for each pixel. So better reflections and all that, but performance tanks significantly. So yeah, the reflections do look better, but they're still grainy. So I don't think there's a point unless you're doing a much higher resolution. I mean, just for the water to look better, to have nice reflections, nice. They are super grainy. I don't think it's worth the efforts for the GPU. My opinion, of course. So if you want to do ray tracing, use medium ray tracing, 65% DLSS, high settings, medium global illumination, you should get 30 FPS. Now we're doing 1440p. And we're doing it with balanced DLSS, which as far as I remember is 57% or 59%. Correct me if I'm wrong. But since I'm going to disable ray tracing, we gotta restart the game. So, one sec. Maybe the reflection resolution is set to the actual resolution. Yeah, definitely. That's definitely what's going on. I mean, the ray tracing, remember, they are shooting rays for each pixel. So if you lower the resolution, you're going to get less rays being casted, which means less precision when it comes to the reflection. So if you are playing on native resolution, you're going to get way better reflections on the water because higher resolution, more rays, but it's exponentially more demanding. So to get the actual ray tracing on native resolution, you need a lot of GPU power. So you would need to play the game without upscaling in order to achieve that, which is kind of, yeah, it's very difficult. 58. Gotcha. Thanks, guys. High settings, medium GI, 1440p, DLSS 58%. So thank you for the correction. And the settings are basically like this. Let's see if we can get into the 40s at least at 1440p. Or 60s if you're lucky. And let's see what happens. Yeah, you need like a 4080 or 4090 if you want to do native 1080p with full ray tracing. Okay. Upper 50s, probably is going to drop into the low 50s in the middle of this. But I mean, while this is not ray traced, of course, the water is probably screen space mixed with cube maps. I mean, it's okay enough. But again, if you want to have good water with realistic ray tracing without grain, you need to do native resolution, definitely. Which again, is super expensive when it comes to GPU. Also, the draw distance of the shadows, even on high, not sure if it's an issue with the game itself there, but there's some pop-in for the shadows. Yeah, I mean, one of the few games where I saw, I agree with you, Juancito, one of the few games where I saw that improvement with ray tracing was Cyberpunk, but with path tracing. With ray tracing, the reflections were nice, but the path tracing really did make a difference. And thank you so much, Spencer Walker21, once again for the $5 donation. He says, the closest to an AMD card you have is the Steam Deck and ROG Ally. LOL. Yeah, basically, my AMD cards are handheld computers. Yeah, I know. That's pretty funny. That's true. I agree with your statement. I mean, I haven't tested AMD cards because they were just not popular enough. People didn't seem to care that much for the discrete AMD cards. I did the RX 580, 570, 470, 480, but I don't know. Just the people watch less of that than the other cards. I mean, if it was by my choice, I would just do both of them. But just the difference is so high. The only AMD thing for me that has decent viewership is the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally. So yeah, it's just a thing of popularity. What's 58%? Balanced? Yeah, exactly. Let me clarify that so you guys balanced. 58% DLSS is basically balanced. At 1440p it looks good enough. And I think this would be the settings that I would use if I was playing on a 1440p monitor with this card. Highest textures, high settings, medium GI, 58% resolution with DLSS, which means, what's the name of this? Balanced DLSS, average of 60 in the benchmark. Probably in the actual game, we're going to get lower than that, which was to be expected. But it looks good enough. Again, ray tracing, ignore it on this one. In my opinion, at least. It looks nice with ray tracing, but you need a very strong base resolution for the water reflections when using ray tracing to actually look good. So before I go, let's keep balanced DLSS, but on the highest settings, just for the memes. We're going to be using the cinematic settings. So we're doing it like that without ray tracing, because again, ray tracing is kind of a waste of time considering how the reflections look with upscaling. No, not CPU intensive so far. The thing is, again, it's not like there's something complex going on the screen. I mean, you have nice graphics, whatever, but there's no enemy AI doing anything complex. We don't have any combat on screen. There's some enemies walking around. That could be just a baked animation. Doesn't have to be AI. So yeah, on the cinematic mode, I mean, I'm seeing better shadows, better shadow draw distance, less pop in, but that's about it. Also, I can see better global illumination. Yeah, the global illumination difference, I can see it, especially in more far away objects. There's some bounce lighting going on. At least at first sight, that's what it seems like. But the performance hit is huge. So again, personally, I would just use high settings with medium global illumination, and that should be good enough. Looks pretty good. Has way better performance than this. And what do I think about the benchmark tool? Well, I think it's an advertisement tactic. I mean, it's nice to have a benchmark before the game releases to see if it runs on your PC and whatever. But I think it's a little bit disingenuous that the benchmark tool is basically some lazy ass camera movement on a map without any combat, without any nice effects. I mean, on all the trailers they're showing, again, super hairy monkey Wukong in super high fidelity fighting enemies with special weapons that electrify, turn enemies on fire, that those enemies also have hair, effects on screen. We see none of that in the benchmark tool. I think that's a very disingenuous, in my opinion, because that's not representative of the final game. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I think it's a nice way to catch the attention of the people, just because they're saying, oh, okay, they're releasing a benchmark tool, they're very confident on the performance. Yeah, that's true, but at the same time, the benchmark doesn't seem to be very representative, at least in my opinion. So I think this benchmark should have been Wukong running into some place, fighting some enemies, and then at the end maybe fighting with that big wolf, hairy enemy boss fight that they showed in the first trailer. And I think that would have been perfect. I would have been perfectly happy with that. But this just feels disingenuous, because the game is definitely going to run worse than this when shit hits the fan, to say it in some way. So yeah, it has a lot of vegetation, a lot of water, but you have to include the monkey with a lot of hair being rendered, with a lot of effects on screen, with enemies attacking you. Which, again, hopefully I'm wrong, but that's my impression from seeing this benchmark tool. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks again. Oh, another donation from Marco Antonio Bermeo. Thank you for the 20 Mexican pesos donation. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much for supporting the channel directly. And yeah, I mean, there is always good and bad benchmark tools. This one, I consider it bad because there's no action going on. You're just moving around the water surface and panning the camera around. A real benchmark will be, okay, we got a monkey fighting other monkeys or other enemies. And that's basically it. I will be happy with that. That's all they needed to do. Put Wukong running around, hitting enemies with a weapon that turns them on fire, and we're good. A lot of particles on screen, all bells and whistles. And again, with that I will be happy with the benchmark tool, but it's just the camera moving around. I mean, it's fine as a baseline, but the game is being advertised heavily with a lot of special effects on screen. So yeah, no hairy monkey, no nice benchmark tool. Again, let me just as to finish my point, to put my point across. This is basically the part we had in the benchmark tool. Let's go back to the game super quickly because I have to run. So what do they show you in the game? Monkey with lots of fur fighting a hairy dude with a badass devil spear that casts fire. Another special effect thing over water being affected by the movement of the characters, so real-time water movement that also affects performance. Again, effects on screen. Lots of hair. Again, you could attack him and he will be on fire. That's even more of a performance hit. I'm pretty sure each time this enemy attacks you, you get a lot of transparencies on screen because there will be dust jumping from the ground. Here, probably the snow has deformation to it, and there's fire, so effects around our character, fighting another character that has lots of hair. So again, I think the benchmark tool is not a good baseline. We'll try it once the game releases, but man, I wish they just put the monkey fighting people, hairy monkey fighting people. That's all I'm asking for. Because look at this, in this combat right here, you can clearly see the amount of effects, the deformation of the water when Wukong moves around. This would have been a perfect benchmark. Just put Wukong fighting an enemy in real time. You don't have to even control it. And you can judge the performance in a realistic way, because the attractive part of the game are those effects. You're actually going to be fighting. You're not going to just move the camera around. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Especially this part that has deformable terrain and a lot of effects on screen. And the water moving around when your character steps on it. So in 5 days, we're going to find out. Thank you guys again for watching this video. Again, it's nice to have a benchmark tool, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit disingenuous. They also say this is not 100% what the game will run like. So they covered their asses saying that, which is okay. The benchmark results may not fully represent the actual gaming experience and final performance. Then why release a benchmark in the first place? I don't know. But it's nice to see the settings before the game releases. You forgot the Nouveau in the main game. Yeah, and there's the Nouveau in the demo as well. So, yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did taking a look at the benchmark tool. Again, I don't think it's a great benchmark tool. Rant over when it comes to that. And but it's nice to see at least that I can see the options menu ahead of time and see, okay, the global illumination is the most demanded option. There's a DX11 way to run the game. And it precompiles shaders, which is great news in my book. But the rest, when it comes to performance, meh. I don't think it's a good representation. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see ya next time. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
And I don't know why I said that. That's very cringe.